Welcome, podcast world.
I'm Stephanie.
I am Lindy.
And welcome back to our podcast,
Oh.
Turn of the Millennials. Thank you for coming back. We appreciate it.
Yes, it's so very nice and polite of you.
You clearly like what we're doing.
Yay! Well, like I say, it's super fun, so we really hope you're enjoying it.
Today we are working on the
Continuing.
final...
Not continuing, but...
We're completing the
Yes.
trilogy for Mighty Ducks. This is D3. The Mighty Ducks, this is what they called it. They weren't very creative, you know.
No, they weren't. They could have done so much more. I have no examples. I apologize, but I think they could have done better.
Just like the new one, Mighty Ducks, Game Changers. Anyway.
Game Changers.
Creativity, just not there. But we still love you and we still love the franchise.
Could have been all like, Ducks are back. Fly me again.
Right. Although now apparently they're all snobby and frou-frou, but again, that's another episode in a couple of weeks.
That comes out at the end of the month. We'll touch on that then.
But we need to start releasing these episodes. So that's
oh my
why.
god, yeah.
Yeah, we'll start doing that. So anyways, back to D3. So this one starts I guess this one's more about the kids being in school and getting accepted into Eden Hall as a team, as opposed to them going to like a championship or a Goodwill game and playing.
Do you not have a fun little tidbit about that? About what it was actually supposed to be about?
I think I touched on this in the other episode.
Well, still, not everyone was going to listen to that one.
Not everyone was listening, but still, we'll touch on that. And actually, if you had done your research homework, because Lindy hasn't, I've been giving her shit this week today.
I suck.
She needs to learn her podcasting skills and research before we do our podcast. She's been a little slacking, but that's okay. So
I'm tired.
I have a job too. Come on.
I know.
But basically, this one, the executive producer or the original writers wanted it to actually go back to the Goodwill Games. This time, kind of being a little older, wiser, doing it, and they would actually be playing Russia in the Goodwill Games. And then when I was actually reading this oral history that was on Time Magazine recently, I learned a little bit more about that as well. What they wanted to actually happen was that the Ducks were actually going to lose against Russia, but then help the Russia. So what it was essentially, they would lose against Russia, but Russia would basically, they were out for dinner one night and all of the other teams kind of came and were kind of, it was one of the it was a cultural thing because it had to do with the Judaism. So it was one of the, I don't remember what team it is, but it's somewhere over in Europe where it was like, at the time where it was like the Jewish, not fan of Jewish people. Goldberg. Sorry, not Averman. Goldberg. It was a thing where, so one of the other countries was making fun of Goldberg because he was Jewish and kind of using that kind of anti-Semitic sort of stuff. And so the Russians come to the defense knowing that, you know, they've done or was it the Iceland team? Sorry, that's what it is. The Iceland team.
So their former
arch nemesis come to their aid, and then they end up teaming up with Iceland because they had lost against the big Russian team or whatever, and they were going to team up against Iceland, or they were going back against it or whatever. So they teamed up with Iceland to teach them the ways that they did, and then help them win against it or whatever. So it was kind of like a full circle moment of like teaching them.
I think I would have liked that better.
Right? But Disney wanted to have it at school. And, Disney gods, they get their way. That's just an update from Facebook.
Also, I think, like I said in like the other one we recorded, the introduction or whatever, I think it has something to do also with like Disney wanted the movie to be more relatable. And like how relatable is a teenager that's won the the Goodwill Games, and that is doing it again, and... I think
that's something that they actually kind of mentioned in that article as well. Something about how, like, is it really, winning again twice in a row? Like, this one kind of felt more circle because they had to take, they've always been the winning team. So they had to take this being at this level and learn how to lose and still be, still help their rival and thrive and teach them a different way of learning as well and stuff. So it could have been an interesting version, but this one could have been again. This one is Disney.
This one's still good. Like it has its really funny moments, and
it does. Basically they get accepted into Eden Hall on scholarships.
It starts out with flashbacks of the first two movies.
Yeah, kind of in the credits. Yeah, they do flashbacks.
While Bombay's like kind of doing like an introduction speech to like
at the academy
when they get their scholarships.
About how I've spent a lot of time with these kids. These kids have taught me everything. Blah, blah,
I went to this school. I want them to have the same education. La da da.
So and then it comes basically they all get accepted, and then cut to Bombay tells Charlie that
he's not going to be coaching them
he
at
is
the
actually
school.
leaving to work with, I think it's Hendrix, or with the Goodwill Games or something more exclusively because of what he did. So he's going to work with them, and that he's not working with the Ducks.
Yeah, and didn't he become like a part of their law team or something?
I can't remember.
I don't remember.
So basically,
again, didn't watch it. Sorry.
I watched it more recently, but I still forget those little minor details. I didn't really take notes about it. I apologize. So Charlie, because he's 14,
he's
15.
Charlie.
No, it's because he's 14 or 15. Like, what do you expect? They're going through puberty during this time. So Charlie gets pretty angsty because he's like, you're a coach. You've been here through the beginning. Like, he's not going to understand us, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, Coach Orion is really good. Like, I'm leaving you in good hands. And Charlie's just all angsty throughout this whole entire movie, which I think that was when that's why I started, because I was like, what, like I said, 10 or 11? Like, I was in grade 6 when this movie came out. I think that's why, because he was like in his little angsty phase, and I think that's why I started to like Joshua Jackson in this movie. This was
like the angsty boys, did you?
This was the one where I actually started to like him. Like, I saw the first and the second one, but this is the one where the crush was like, I like Charlie. Or also because he was probably just past puberty age in general, because I think when I was reading in the thing that Vincent LaRusso was saying about how like basically between the first and the sixth, like the first and the third, they grew up with these kids. They went from like 13 to 17 with these kids. 18, yeah. But also they were saying that like when they would go back home, they were just regular kids and stuff. So it was like these kids,
they shared an experience.
They shared every time they would go back for this movie. They kept sharing this experience. These kids knew where they were coming from. They would have these things on set and have all this like these times together. But they grew up together and they experienced these things. And apparently Connie Moreau was a little,
friendly,
little friendly on
little
set.
Friendly was she? Was she?
One of the only girls would expect, but. I don't blame her. And she was apparently a little bit older too. Mm-hmm. I think she was like 14, and they told her to say she was 12 or something like that. They're saying, but if
I had the option for Aaron Laura, fuck yeah, I would. My team. Yeah.
It was good times.
I was so sad he wasn't like in the majority of this movie.
So,
anyway,
yeah. So basically, they get introduced to
Coach Orion
school. And the varsity team is like, don't mess with us.
Varsity team, typical fucking jock bullies.
And just like they have to have an enemy team. So, of course, the varsity is their enemy team.
And who else are they going to have their enemy team when they're at, like, an academy and, like, they're not exactly playing against other schools at the moment.
Yeah, they're not playing at Goodwill Games. They're not playing in the Pee Wee leagues. I guess they do play against other schools because they show a few games. So they're clearly playing against other schools. But I guess no one school is their particular rival, so obviously they have to make the varsity because they're JV.
Mm-hmm. Well, not to mention it adds to the conflict because they have to go to school with these people
and everything. Yeah, they have to be,
which I don't understand because either lunchroom. I guess they're not really in the same class because they wouldn't be the same grade.
No, and only the couple of them are at the school because Eden Hall is in Minnesota, which is, again, we mentioned this in a previous episode.
Minnesota.
Eden Hall is in Minnesota, so all of the kids who are from District 5 clearly take the buses to school, but the kids who rollerblade take the bus, because Charlie does get on the bus with one girl, so they rollerblade/bus. And the kids who are from out of town, like Russ and Julie the cat and them.
Kenny and Dwayne.
Yep. They actually have to stay in the dorms. So they might run into them in the dorms.
Yeah, a little bit more frequently than the locals.
Kids. And they would all run into them, I think, in the lunchrooms no matter what. So that would happen.
Yeah. But can we talk about the Ducks' like first impression on the school? How they made their entrance into the auditorium when they were getting introduced.
Yes, this is true. So the original kids were there, like I said, so the kids who were from out of town, again, those four ones we mentioned who
Julie,
are on
Gaffney,
campus.
Dwayne, like Kenny, like they are in the auditorium with the rest of the school,
listening to
their headmaster or dean or whatever.
Dean talk about, we've got these new kids, this is the new year and this new school year, and being all inspirational, yada yada yada. He
even mentions getting closer to the millennium.
Yes, he does actually. And this was filmed in 96. He's like, as we're approaching the millennium, and we both looked at each other and laughed. Because we did a quick synopsis before.
Everything's going to die in the year 2000.
Side note, I think they still have that picture. Oh no, it says turn your computers off on January 31st, 99 at Best Buy.
Before 11:59 p.m.
Yeah. I think they still have this sticker on it at Best Buy.
Oh my god, I remember that when there was warnings of that on the TV. They're like, make sure you turn off all your electronics.
Yes. So basically, as he's making these things, and he's like, oh, and now we go to introduce the Ducks, and the other ones were all rollerblading to school, and they're like, oh, we're going to go through the back, and then they don't realize where they are, and then it turns out that they were behind stage, and then they knock down
the curtain, and make a spectacle.
And then they're like, hi, we're the Ducks.
After Charlie and Goldberg almost freaking die on the way there.
Oh, you figured after 4 years.
He would learn how to fucking rollerblade by now.
Right?
Like, he's lucky Charlie's such a good friend to him.
Charlie's the glue of the whole
downstairs.
And they still have not said whether he's going to make an appearance in Game Changers or not.
I actually just saw an article that before
Danielle posted it. He's been saying for the last few years that he wants to do.
It's been teased.
He's been saying himself that he wants, when the script is right and when they ask him back, he's ready to do it. We know he is. He has said this time and time and again. And there was actually pictures of him and his wife walking about, and she was actually wearing his old District 5 jersey. And I was like, that is so adorable.
Yeah, Charlie Gronway group.
But yeah, I read it because Danielle posted it. I read that article. And I think that's what it is, because what they said in the article is that they don't want to shy away from the kids athletes that are in it now. So I think, and they want to make it for this new generation. They want to establish
their acting and playing abilities before they bring in the big names.
I think the big names are the best kept. I think it's the best kept secret of this whole thing. I feel like they already have them in their corner. It's just being their best kept secret of this whole entire thing. That's what I think.
Yeah, it's got to be like super tight-lipped.
He's got to be like, they've got to be one of the parents of the coaching teams or something. Like,
I mean, any one of those kids, I would assume, would love to come back as an adult as a cameo. Except Goldberg, maybe?
Not to say he wouldn't not, but it just depends on whether his current situation has cleared up or not.
Okay.
But yes, I'm sure all of the other ones would, because when they had when the Anaheim actual Ducks had their 20th, 25th season, all the Ducks came back for like beforehand and stuff like that for ceremonies and stuff. Like they're all still part of it. And actually, funny thing is, like when I was reading this thing, is they were actually the first ones to play on Arrowhead Pond. They were the first ones, like Arrowhead Pond, like the Ducks weren't even released and using that facility when they were filming this movie. They were the first kids to play on that ice. They were the first ones to be in the offices. They were the first ones to do anything in that Arrowhead Pond. And they were just like, Guy Germain was saying, like, this is the greatest day. And Scott Wolf was the other one too. They're like, this was the greatest day because I was out there on this, like, NHL ice, and I'm playing with some of these like NHL players, because the trainers are basically NHL players, and they're like, this is the greatest day of my life. Like, oh my god.
I mean, that would be
14
pretty.
That's what's the second one,
freaking epic, yeah.
Right? Like, as a 14, like anywhere between 14 to 16-year-old, like the greatest day of your life. Yeah. So I was like, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna start with it.
Yeah. I hope Aaron Lohr makes a cameo. That would just make my fucking day.
Yeah. So
hint, nudge, nudge, a wink, wink.
Yes. So they make their appearance in the funnest of ways.
Yeah, falling through the curtain on stage behind the head
Taskmasters. And then they just say, we're the Ducks, and then it just skips ahead to
their first day of school, pretty much. They meet all their really mean teachers, talking a million miles a minute about all the homework they're going to have.
They're kind of like, oh, you're going to do this and this and this.
You have a pop quiz every other day and a test every Friday.
You can't talk, you can't move.
No chewing gum. And just, typical what you would expect for like an academy like that.
Yeah.
What you would expect.
First day scaries, and then they go to lunch, and
they all have to maintain a certain GPA to keep their scholarships too.
Oh, that's at first practice. We haven't even talked about first practice. So after first day of school,
I just thought that was a given. Like, you get a scholarship to a school for a sports team. That's a given.
No, he doesn't mention that until the thing. He's like, the school
and the kids had no idea.
He's like, the school requires you to maintain a C average, and they're like, yeah. And he's like, but I think that's stupid. I require you to have a B average.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have their first practice, and basically, when they get there, Coach O'Ryan's not there, so they do their old tactics of playing of like, you know what it is, we're Ducks. So Dwayne tries to
they do the roping up, and they play, and that's how they
Coach O'Ryan comes in, he's like, this isn't what we do, blah blah blah, and
get to the line, or suicides now, or whatever.
And so basically, they have this first like mini introduction of Coach O'Ryan, and then
not a very good first impression that they get of him,
because they were so used to Softy Bombay for so long, and they would just feel like, to them it feels like
Riley. That's Riley. Sorry. Apparently he wanted to have his say.
So yeah, they just feel like because they've been together for longer that he's the new one coming in, so they have kind of this,
so that he should bend to their will and do what
this guard
they think.
Guard thing up to them. So yeah, he should.
And they're like 15.
Yeah, of course. Again, a puberty, angsty, things. Well, not only that, like, they don't really mention a lot, but I think Charlie's got a lot of shit going on at home sometimes between, like...
I think so, too.
Because
they mention that his mom remarries,
his mom remarried. You never see it. Yeah. You never see who it is, and even his mom is... But then it feels like Bombay is gone, and the one, like...
He feels like he's losing everyone.
He wanted, well, because in the first one they kind of had the thing, so he kind of felt like Bombay was maybe going to be his dad. So then he just kind of kept Bombay as sort of this fatherly figure or someone to like life. Really mentor. And now all of a sudden it feels like this guy's just leaving him when he's in his prime of thisness and being abandoned. So it probably has
abandonment issues,
right? He got a little bit of abandonment issues, I think.
That's for sure.
Because his father abandoned him too. So why all of a sudden this other man?
Anyway.
Poor Charlie.
Anyway. So, so they have their first, like, practice, and then...
So, basically, they run drills and things, so he kind of sees, I think, who they are, what they do,
what they're capable of.
At the end of practice, he comes in, and he's like...
He posts their positions. Riley.
Shh. There's nothing there. Quiet.
So, he posts their positions on the bulletin board.
Again, that's when he tells them about the GPA and the rules of the team and stuff like that or whatever. And then, so he was like, this is your rule. You need to be this. We need to do this. Like, blah, blah, blah.
Like, you have to be and,
So then they all go up and see where their things are.
Where their positions are.
And then so basically instead of someone's like, oh, I'm going to be riding the pine pony or whatever. So Julie the cat ends up becoming first. Goldberg string. Is second. Mm-hmm. A couple of the other ones kind of got whatever. And
Charlie gets moved to defense instead of scoring. And he also...
Banks... gets put up to varsity, and he's like, what? And then Charlie's...
loses
and then they go and they look, Captain... Dwayne goes, Captain Tibbid.
Tibbid,
what's Tibbid mean? And he goes, no, that's to be determined. It's like, but Charlie, you're the captain. And so Charlie has this moment of, oh no, he's taking my C away from me.
Oh no, I'm going to lose my C.
And so after he goes to... I don't know if it's in that scene or if it's a scene later on, but he goes to Han and he starts complaining about his C being taken away, and he's like,
yeah, that was the next one, and he gives him like a drawer full of them.
He's like, Charlie, it's just a letter. You want to see? I've got plenty of C.
Here you go.
It's just a letter. He's like, Han, don't make fun of me, being so serious and angsty that he is.
And then Han is like, dude, fucking grow up.
Yeah,
it's just a letter.
Love and determine that it's not the letter that makes the captain. It's
your attitude.
It's your attitude and the person. Like, he's trying to show him that, like, right now, Charlie, you're not being a captain. You're not being a leader.
He doesn't have captain material right now. He's not portraying that.
He's too in his head and being angry at Bombay.
He's being selfish.
Exactly.
There's no I in team.
There is actually the time where he gets mad, or he goes to another practice, I believe. He gets literally, there's one where he gets mad and he's like, I'm not a defenseman, I'm a scorer. And that's basically, I think, when he kind of gets, like, put into the penalty box, and then he's like, I don't really want to go to practices anymore. So him and Fulton ditch the day, and they go to the mall and whatever. Yeah. And then they get sick on the rides,
and then they get kicked out of the mall because they're throwing up in the garbage can, heads inside.
They had a little too much, like, I think candy or something to eat beforehand, or some kind of or too much food, and then they rode the rides, and then the rides made them sick.
Because they mow down on like corn dogs and funnel cakes and
so
like
bad fried
big
foods.
Gulps and
so bad fried foods for them, so they ended up being sick on all of these rides, and then they get kicked out.
Teenager again.
Fun fact, the song playing in that one is This Is Me in Grade 9, Bare Naked Ladies, Canada, what? Anyways, so basically they go into the alleyway, and Fulton's like, he's like, oh, don't worry, Charlie's like, tomorrow will be better.
Tomorrow will be way more fun.
Fulton is just like, well, we can't do this forever. Like,
we can't do this every day.
He's like, no, I got a plan. We'll move up to Canada. We'll play in the juniors for a bit, and then we'll go on and blah blah. And he's like, I don't think I'm good enough to play in the juniors.
Or he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to play hockey the rest of his life.
Yeah, and he also doesn't think he's good enough. Like, Charlie's pretty good, but he's like, I don't think I'm good enough. I don't know if I want to play hockey my whole life. Like, and he's like, what? He's like, I don't need you. Go. So now Charlie
just assumed that he'd have the same dreams as him.
So Charlie's kind of isolating everyone, and then again at the same
being
time,
a dick basically.
At the same time, poor Banksy is on varsity.
Yeah, come on, stop with the trash they're handing Banks.
We missed. They did the undercover hockey game before he gets kicked out. That's why they got kicked out. They did the varsity. They did the Fire Ants. Okay, so they've had a little animosity between the varsity team when the coach told them specifically to stay away from varsity. Stay away.
Nothing good can come of it.
Varsity bugs them in the lunchroom, so one time the guy steals his...
they steal Kenny Wu's lunch.
Yep.
And Charlie and Fulton and... Who was the other one? Goldberg? Or Averman?
No, Russ Tyler.
Oh, it was Russ. The three of them see this, and they concoct a plan.
For revenge. So they go outside, and I guess they've got... Because it's a prep school, they've got
horses. Horseback riding and stuff,
so
equestrian.
They go and pick up some of the horse poop and put it
Throw it in a paper brown sack.
And then they walk past the varsity, knowing varsity's going to try and steal their lunches, being all
Which
imitated
they do.
And so they go and open them like, oh, and then they're trying to be like, oh, too bad your little Banks, or no, too bad your buddy Portman isn't here. He's too afraid. And Fulton's like, Portman ain't afraid of nothing. And while they're doing it, this other varsity guy's open.
Oh, no, wait. And then Charlie's like, oh, come on, man. My mommy made brownies. Mommy made brownies.
Obviously for the full
Which is hilarious because I only just noticed that about 20 minutes ago when we watched it.
I know you always said this, but it was always for a fact, clearly, of course.
Yeah, and then Jockman puts his hand in the bag.
Realizes it's, puts it in, and he's like,
what?
And it's horse, and he's like, I gotta stop telling my mom to put the horse turds in the recipe.
And they book it.
And then run out, and it
flies onto the cheerleading table, and then they throw it. It lands on
no, they panic, and then they leave. Yeah. And run. So basically,
it causes a panic. It causes like a stampede in the cafeteria.
And then so basically they do. Oh,
that
so they freeze.
Starts kind of their rivalry.
There's this rivalry. So then the varsity
to get back at the Ducks, they put their clothes in the shower.
Yes, in the shower. So then to get back at that,
which I love this one.
They
steal a liquid nitrogen tank from the science lab,
and then they go into their locker room, the varsity, and freeze all of their clothes while they're on the ice.
And I love
the clothes they have to wear.
I do love that they do pause for a second and are like, "Should we get Banks's stuff?"
Yeah,
and they're like, "Well, he's a varsity, so
like, what about Banksy?" You know what? And he's like, "He's one of them now."
If they left Banks's stuff, that would have opened him up to being a target for varsity.
This is true. It would have been
like
even more.
It would have been way worse if they had left Banks' stuff alone.
And then after that, they were like, "Oh, we're gonna do something nice." So then they take them out for dinner or something like that. Or is that how it starts? They take them out for dinner and they have to get stuck doing dishes at the restaurant. They leave them with the bill for the restaurant.
I think actually that's how it starts.
Okay, so because
that would have been after the horseshit thing.
As a tradition, varsity takes the junior varsity out. Yeah. Which goes and this is how
they take them out for this fancy schmancy meal and blah blah blah,
and then
blah.
They leave them with the bill. And
which they end up having to do dishes and whatever. So to get them back, that's when they put is that the fire ants?
So either way, so eventually escalates again to this fire ant where they go in and they put fire ants in their thing. They lock the doors with strings so they can't get out, and then eventually
put the fire ants in the tubes.
So then they get all these scratches and they come out and they're like, oh, and then they're like...
Oh, it's a hilarious scene. I love it. And they stole the ants from the headmaster, by the way, which I'm not really sure, were they repercussioned for that? Did he notice the ants were missing? They never touch on his missing ants.
These are things in the media world they call a MacGuffin.
A MacGuffin?
Have you never heard of these? Do you not remember this word?
No, I don't think so.
It's a thing that like seems really, I believe it's really important at the time, but then it just to progress, but then it has no outcome, but it's just to progress the story along, but it's like a big plot point or something like that. I can't remember. It's something we learned in media class.
A MacGuffin?
MacGuffin, yeah.
An object or device in a movie or a book that serves merely as a trigger for the plot.
Yeah.
The MacGuffin in this intriguing comedy is an unpublished novel by a young writer killed in the war. I don't know what that means.
It's something that it's like a small minuscule part that just...
necessary to the plot and the motivation of the characters, but insignificant, unimportant, or irrelevant in itself. All right. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay.
So that's a MacGuffin. Whether it was something to develop the plot, because in order for them to, when they did this is basically what starts their hockey fight together. So basically, he's like
prank war. Basically,
no. When the fire ants happen, he's like, "We'll play you anytime, anywhere." Right. And so this is what the coach didn't want, because he was like, "You're going to play them in a game at the end of the year, the traditional varsity junior varsity game. Yeah. Don't play them before then. You show your hand, essentially."
Yeah, basically.
So he didn't want them to do that. So they go into the ice early morning. They are in their Ducks jerseys, of course. They're not wearing their... They're in their Ducks jerseys, and like, and Julie's like, "Oh, I'm first string," and Goldberg's like, Coach says, "I'm first string." He's like, "Coach, I don't see
no coach."
She's like, "Well, I want my chance at these guys too, so don't hog it, because we're treating her too like crap." So both of them wanted their little shot at them. They have this fight, and then the coach Orion comes in the morning and he's like, "Get out of here!" He
sees them and he
stops the whole thing.
Mad.
Tells varsity, "Get your team out of here!" And then that's when he gets mad. So that's when Charlie and Fulton actually leave, because they were mad at the way Coach
handled that. Because
he made them take off the jerseys, and he's like, "You're not Ducks anymore. There's no Ducks anymore. Like, you're because he varsity."
Yeah, he made them throw them like in the garbage can or something. Oh no, they just
threw them on the ice, but you're not allowed to.
Yeah, they threw them pile on the ice.
Yeah. So then that's what leads them to the day off, and then whatever. And Fulton's like, "Well, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Like, I don't want to play hockey for the rest of my life." Yada yada yada.
But he needs a good education, and
so he does stay there. So he decides to go back. And then Bombay comes back for one of the day. kind of finds out somehow he finds out what's going on with Charlie.
Han probably called him.
Or his mom. Yeah. Who knows? But someone...
No, I think his mom called him. I think he mentions that.
Maybe. So essentially, this is the funny part, because all of a sudden, like, Charlie hears the alarm go off, and he, like, turns it off, and then he's like...
I didn't set my alarm for 6 o'clock.
Saturday. I didn't set essentially being like, it's Saturday, it's 6 alarm. What alarm? And he's like, he even says, like, I didn't set an alarm. And then Bombay's like, no, but I did. Yeah. So it scares him or whatever. And he's like, Charlie, we need to do this day together, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no.
And he, like, steals his covers.
He gets mad. He's like, you're like, you left. You abandoned us, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, just leave me alone. And he's like, no, I can't do that. So he picks up the mattress and flips Charlie out of the mattress.
Yep, that's what happened.
That's what I was getting at, because that's my favorite part. So then basically they go about this married way, and he's like, look, and then so they go back to Eden Hall essentially, and they see a funny 70s picture of Gordon from back in the day. And he's like, oh, was that you? And he's like, oh gosh, that's a terrible, like, making fun of himself.
Probably Emilio from, like, St. Elmo's Fire or something.
Oh, I think it was even before that. Like, I think it was his actual high school picture.
Like his actual
Emilio's high school pictures or something. Or college, something.
Probably.
But you could tell it was one of those.
Yeah.
And then,
such a nerd.
So basically they're at Eden Hall, and he's like, I'm sorry what you did, but this is what happened, blah, blah. And then they go into the ice rink, and then it's Orion with his daughter.
Yeah, because he's like, I want you to see something.
Yeah. So then they sit down, and first he sits down and he hears like kind of like figure skin, like so they hear the music, and then all of a sudden he comes out with his daughter who's in a wheelchair. Yada,
because of a car accident.
Yeah. And so essentially also what we kind of didn't mention at the beginning is Coach Orion was originally, he was on at the NHL, but he only served.
Yeah, there was rumors that he not phased out, but he
just couldn't hack it.
That he couldn't hack it. Yeah, like
for whatever reason he couldn't hack it in the
like
NHL.
He was in it for like a couple years or something, or 1 year. And there's rumors that he punched out his own coach, and like a lot of rumors flying around why he left.
Couldn't hack it. Yada yada yada. So
and then Bombay touches on why he actually left.
Tells him that unfortunately when he sees the daughter in the wheelchair, and he's like, yeah, she got in a car accident, and she had all these doctor's visits, and when the North Stars left Minnesota to go to become the Dallas Stars, he decided to stay. He didn't follow them, so he just kind of quit the NHL for his daughter. He was a great player, and he even said, and he's like, oh, we just thought he was a washed up player who couldn't hack it, and he's like, no, he could hack it.
Yeah, he would have been one of the all-time greats, but
unfortunately
he sacrificed his own dreams for his daughter.
Yeah, because she didn't want to sacrifice the care and the doctor and the family that was support system that was already around in Minnesota for the uproot into Dallas just for the sake of his career.
Yeah.
Or he moved to Dallas and never see his kid again.
Yeah.
So it was that's
obviously, I think for most parents, I think it would be an easy choice.
Yeah, of course. So obviously, next scene, they're about to go to an away game on the bus. Charlie comes in and he's like, oh, coach,
kind of comes groveling
back. He's like, I want to play 2A hockey. And then this is always my favorite part. So he's like, oh, come on back. So Charlie goes and sits down, and Russ is back, and he's like, oh man, you just came here like a little baby. He's like, oh, coach, I want to play 2A hockey. Oh, please. Like crying, like marks down his face. It was hilarious. And then the dean comes
Russ, always the heckler.
I know. Hence why he's on SNL now. But anyways. So then the dean comes along, says that essentially they have a meeting coming up while they're gone on their away game to talk about the status of their scholarships. And
no, didn't they say that they can't go?
No, they still go. They still go, but they said that they're going to have this meeting while they're gone, and they just want to prepare them that like when they come back, there's a possibility that they might not have their scholarships or whatever.
And that made Orion mad.
And that did make Orion mad and stuff like that. And of course, Charlie was like, what? What the heck? But of course, their trusty old coach.
You mean their lawyer?
Hold on, their trusty. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I know where you're going with this. Okay.
So basically, they go in and they have their vote, or they go into the board meeting, and of course, there's varsity on one side, and then the Ducks are on the other side, and they're talking about the vote or whatever. And then so they're like, oh, and Coach Ryan's basically like, well, if you guys won't reinstate this, then we're going to have to bring in our lawyer.
Yeah, they basically lose their scholarships because of their behavior.
No, they weren't winning. They weren't quite winning, I think is what it was. They weren't winning every game. Like they were doing okay, but they weren't quite, I think, winning enough or something is what it was.
Okay.
So they're like, you're not doing good enough.
Yeah,
so
you're not holding up your end of the bargain.
Realistically, it's just because we know our varsity white boy. Because I think
all their daddies are on the board.
So basically, essentially, well, our sons don't like them, so we don't want these kids here, so we're going to take away their scholarships. So they say, well, you left us no choice.
Privilege shit.
Yeah, you left us no choice. So we've brought in our lawyer.
Yeah. Here's a word from our lawyer.
And walks in Bombay and basically says to them, you gave these kids a contract and upon them by signing these scholarships and contracts, you need to abide by them. And if you guys decide to vote against these scholarships, I will lock this up in court for long after these kids have graduated.
Bury you in lawyer fees.
Like, that's literally, yeah. He's like, I will literally I will string this out long enough until long after these kids have graduated this institution, basically.
So, yay, Bombay!
So basically they get reinstituted, and then as they're leaving the meeting, the varsity is like, oh, you only get to stay because of a technicality.
Because of a technicality or loophole.
Yeah, your lawyer only kept you in a technicality. You'll never be a really
And that's
warrior.
when they're all like...
And then Charlie's like, yeah, well, you already had one of us, Banksy. And he's like, you can have him. And he's like, well, now that we're a full... He's like, well, just so you know, that when... Whoa, we'll be playing you, and then when we win, the Warriors die and the Ducks fly.
Yeah, it's like our next game, because they do have to play each other. They play each other in like an annual varsity versus junior varsity game.
Yeah.
So they make a deal that if the Ducks win, they change.
We don't know this. We don't know. This is all we know is they just say, all they say is when the Warriors die, the Ducks fly. That's all you say. So then the game happens. And then when the game ends, a banner comes down and says the Eden Hall Ducks, and that's when everyone finds out.
And then they're all just like, Bombay.
But no one knew about it until that end moment. They don't mention anything about it beforehand.
Really?
No. Never.
I guess I would have known that had I watched it before this podcast.
All they allude to is that they say is when the Warriors die, the Ducks fly, and that's it. Yeah. But they don't know what that means.
So I guess Charlie's freaking feminist girl crush or whatever who she is totally grew up to be an anti-vaxxer.
Yes.
That was you.
And yes. Anti-vaxxer, Karen, all of that stuff. Because basically...
What's her name in the movie? Linda? I think it's Linda.
I think so. At the very beginning, Charlie runs into her and she's asking him to sign a petition to change the name Warrior because it's demeaning or whatever. And he's like, well, you got the Indians, the Blackhawks, the blah, 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 blah. And this is in 96. So this was not when... Like, I know they've been trying to change...
This is not now.
I know, like, recently we've been trying to change the names of these because they are outdated names or whatever. Oh, God, yes. But in 96, this was not the case. So back then, she was kind of like one of those, what would be now classified as, like, I would say anti-vaxxer or very pro for the cause type girls or whatever. She seems like she was a girl who would protest for anything back in the 96.
She seems to me like, someone who would be indicated as a Karen these days.
Yeah, nowadays, that would be my guess. She would be like probably an anti-vaxxer or possibly a Karen.
Yeah.
So we just kind of noted that after watching this time. Not a bad thing on her part or whatever, but just it was something that like, because she was in high school.
Something about her character. Like, she seemed very...
These are high school kids, like, so obviously they grew up to be our ages.
So she...
We just put a persona on these kids.
She treats the rich kids the exact same way she accuses the rich kids of treating her.
Yes, because Charlie, she thinks, oh, you're just another jock.
Yeah, you're just another jock. She stereotypes him.
He's like, no, I'm a duck. I'm not a jock.
Like I'm not a rich kid. I'm not
on a scholarship here too. Like I literally live on the other side of Minnesota here.
Yeah.
Like,
and he basically calls her out on it and is like,
he ends up meeting her at a bus or something. Yeah. And, he said there's she's sitting
and he's like, well, let's start over. My name is Charlie. I like this, and this.
I like Pantera. And she's I love Pantera. And so
she so doesn't like Pantera.
Right.
Like, whatever.
Anyways, so they basically find common ground, and he's just like, she goes to get on the bus, and she's like, well, keep talking. Kind of alluding, okay, maybe so. And she's never seen a hockey game, so the first game she actually goes to is the one where Charlie gets really mad and he like smashes his stick or whatever in that at the ref in that.
Is it his mom at that one?
Yes, his mom is also at that one too. And she's very disappointed.
And she was very disappointed in Charlie.
Yes, very disappointed. But basically,
she goes to the varsity junior varsity game.
Yeah, she's at because it's the end game. It's the end game. Everybody's at the end game. Yeah. His mom's at the end game, and everyone's at the end game. Everyone's
there. Even
people who probably don't even go to the school that are all dressed up. Maybe they go to school, maybe not, but they're all.
Or they might be from like the town.
Maybe because they probably knew but they all end up dressing up in Ducks gear. Like even though it's the varsity, they're all in Ducks gear.
Yep.
What? Come on. Like, anyways, that's besides the point. Oh gosh, Disney, you're so funny.
How can such an amateur team have so many fans?
Right?
That's what you're thinking?
You're just a varsity local team. How do you have so many fans that know you are like the anyways?
Yeah. So like at this point now, like when they start playing this game against the varsity, like they were practicing, they were on good terms with Coach O'Ryan, like they were doing whatever. But then like the first half of the game,
cleaning up the trash. That's what he starts doing before this.
That's what he dumps a garbage can of trash on the ice, and he's all like, clean up the trash.
So when Charlie comes back and everything, and after they re-inherit their scholarships, he really tries to teach them, like, we got to learn offense, we got to learn defense, you got to do both. You got to learn
to clean up the trash.
Yeah, so basically he calls it, you're learning to clean up the trash, because varsity is much trash.
Yes.
So he does take them out, and he does actually take them out onto the street, and then they're like in their rollerblades, and they pick up trash from the side of the road, and then obviously they're bringing it back, and they're trying to shoot it into the goal.
Yeah.
Like, literally. So he literally puts trash on the ice, and they're picking up
kind of like how Bombay had them passing eggs
on the
stuff,
ice,
right? Yeah.
So essentially in the varsity game, they're trying to kind of
take out the trash.
So they're trying to work together and all of this stuff.
But they're still not gaining a lot of ground.
Yeah, because the varsity still kind of knows how they play,
and they're bigger-ish.
And they're bigger guys.
Yeah, they're tougher.
17, 18, and these guys are only like 16. Like 14, 15, actually, I think they're grade 9, so they'd actually be like 14.
So then was it
17.
At the end of the first period or at the end of the second period? Second period, my favorite part of the movie.
Portman.
So I love his entrance. So just like kicks open the freaking locker room door.
We are saying periods because when I was editing the last
Oh my god, I noticed. I realized that after the fact too.
I said period once, and then every other time we said halftime.
And I remember, that's what I was like, because after you had left my house, I was just like, we fucking called it halftime.
I know. Anyways, so during the second period, this time, I swear, I do know my sports. Yeah. Just when you get caught up sometimes in these things, you forget.
You just say stuff.
You just say stupid things. So the second period, in between the second and third period, they find
Dean Portman barrels into the locker room reading his scholarship that he says that his lawyer advised him to take it out and give it a read and maybe sign it. So he did.
AKA the lawyer being Bombay secretly, because when he left the last lawyering gig he had for them, he's like, I've got some business up in Chicago. I'll be back.
Yeah.
And of course his business was
Dean Portman
to bring him back and
because they needed him.
They needed another enforcer. They needed another big guy on the team or whatever. So they, and then in this one, actually, Goldberg learns to, because of Julie being first string, he actually learns to become more of a player in this one.
Yes.
And he actually becomes like a little bit of a bash brother in this last one as well, this last game as well. He kind of comes with like, Dean and Fulton and Charlie and all them, and they kind of come together and, they're bash brothers together and stuff like that. And then they actually bring in a real duck, the interview guy, that little interview guy or whatever that they have in there. He's that little blonde kid who's the interviewer. He actually brings in a real duck, Paul Correa.
Oh, right. Yes. What's his face from the Nanny? He was in The Nanny.
Oh, the little kid? Oh,
yeah, the kid was in The Nanny.
Okay, yeah. So they bring in Paul Correa during one of the, I think it's the first period, possibly.
I don't know who that is.
He was one of the original Duck players when the team first came out. He was number 9 or whatever. He was actually really good. My dad actually, one of my jerseys has number 9, which was his.
I am not a hockey follower.
So when these movies came out, actually when this movie came out was when I got my Ducks jersey for Christmas that year. I was in grade 6. So my dad also got his own jersey. So my dad had the purple Ducks jersey, obviously in the adult size. And his was a number 9. It didn't have a name on it because, I guess he didn't want a name. So, but it's number 9, which was Korea's number. And then mine, when I got it back then, it was it's a child size. It still theoretically fits me in the body, but the arms are just too short, so I don't wear it. But it was a white one, and it was number 96 with the C 96? On it. With the C on it. And then ever since then, every single one of my jerseys that's customized is Steffi or Chesson with the number 96 and the captain on it because it's just been my thing. That's the first time
you've mentioned your last name.
Maybe. I guess. I don't know. Well, it doesn't matter.
Wasn't sure if we were doing that.
I don't think it really matters. Like, does someone really want...
No, I wasn't sure. There's lots of podcasts people use, like, their last names and stuff. I just wasn't sure if we were going to. We never really talked about it.
We never really talked about it. I don't know.
Anywho. Editing.
Maybe we'll have a stalker. Okay. Then we'll leave it. We'll just leave it. Because then
God, I hope not.
Oh, maybe a stalker. No, I'm kidding. I don't want that either.
Only if it's, like, a fun stalker.
Right?
Like...
Kevin's been watching a lot of documentaries lately, so it's kind of, stalkers do kind of scare me a little bit, but that's besides the point.
Anyway. So they got Portman back, and they fucking go full force after, during the third period.
Yeah, and basically, so the third period, they win it up, and...
We had talked about this last time, but how does it end? Was it just like they were running out of time, Ducks scored again, and they won?
Oh.
Or was it like a shootout? What was it?
No, I think this one was just a regular one, but I think before the end, I think he's actually like, Orion is like, oh, quack, quack. Like he actually lets them do the quack, quack. What are you doing?
Hold
on. Actually, so in the JV game, they don't play in their JV jerseys. They play in the Ducks jerseys.
Yeah, didn't you say that already?
No, I didn't.
I could have sworn you did.
No, I didn't mention that.
Yes, you did.
No, I did not.
Okay, I will listen to this on the phone, and then I'm going to let you know, because I could have sworn you mentioned it. Anyway.
I'm almost pretty sure I did not mention it. So,
almost pretty sure, whereas I am like 100% sure positive.
I guarantee I did not say it, because I forgot that they were wearing it in these ones. So basically, they end up wearing it. Guy gets injured.
Yeah.
And then, so that's when Paul Correa comes in, Portman comes in, and then, he's like, so you're the big enforcer? Nice to meet you. And then he kind of gives him like that.
Dean Portman was being all like super polite and everything.
And cordial, and then he's like, no, I don't want to. And he's like,
have it your way then.
Right? And he's like, and so basically he's like,
and he
all right, then.
He basically like just fucking boot fucks him. Like,
just fine. You want to play this?
Knocks him out. He sees stars.
Basically, I'm not playing nice.
Yeah.
And then so
was that Aaron Lore? Did
yeah,
I just see Aaron Lore topless?
So basically, after a couple of seconds or whatever, a little bit in there, he basically ends up getting a penalty. So
and then to rile up the crowd, he like strips and
because they were kind of a little sad, like / excited. So when he gets in the penalty box, they're all just kind of like and to get them riled up.
So he starts stripping and takes pads and like whipping his jersey around, and then there's teenage hormonal me just
So basically that. And then
trying to control myself.
They end up having this like big. So the final shot actually comes down to the Goldberg shot. I was remembering. I was like, why did Goldberg have a big moment? Because he was no longer in the goal, and I forgot. So basically, Goldberg has his big shot. So he's on the ice, and basically they're all going around. Goldberg's free. He passes it to. I think Charlie's right at the net.
I
passes back to Goldberg
because.
And they're like, what? A pass to Goldberg?
He's like, shoot, Goldberg, shoot!
And that's in slow motion. Shoot, Goldberg, shoot! So it's in slow motion, they say that, not as fast as shoot it.
Yeah.
And then so he's kind of like...
And it's all slow-mo, and
he shoots it, and then they're coming at him, so he kind of gets knocked over after he shoots it, but it ends up going in. And then so Charlie comes over, and he's like, you did it, Goldberg! And he's like, you scared me. Don't ever do that again. So then they ended up winning... everything.
Was it 1-0?
1-0
was the final score.
I think that's what I saw. Was,
yeah. So it was like 1-0, and then as soon as the thing goes off, and Goldberg.
Yeah, 1-0. Yeah, 1-0.
Yeah. So okay. And they win. They celebrate, and then down drops the Ducks flag.
The Eden
Hall Ducks flag.
And they're like, everyone's like, oh yeah, like that's Bombay, that was Bombay. And then I think they cut to, I know they show Bombay at the very end, so I don't remember like so what it is he sees Bombay standing by kind of like the entranceway. Charlie looks at Bombay at the entranceway, and he's just like, so Bombay kind of looks up. That's when the banner falls. And Charlie's like, oh, hey guys, ah! Yeah. And then Bombay walks out the tunnel, and that's basically how it ends.
Yeah.
So that was the end of that one.
Yeah. All in all, like, obviously, probably my least favorite of the three, but
second is always definitely my favorite one.
Second's definitely my favorite.
That's actually the funny thing when you read it. When I read this Time magazine, that's what he said. Is like the first one is like it's the nostalgia. It's where it all started. It's actually they actually say like it's a little more of the serious sort of. And they said that the second one is one of their like more fun, like because it was the first on the Arrowhead Pond. It was in LA. Like that one was their more fun version. And then I think the third one was like more of the bringing everything to a close and stuff. And the funny thing is I think the director of the first one or the second one, I believe, was actually who actually worked on Heavyweights.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
that's not really surprising. I mean, so most of them are in that movie.
Gerald Gardner from the first one, Goldberg from all of them, and Russ Tyler from the second. We're all in the movie.
Yeah. Also, which will be another episode as well.
Yes, because that is a great movie.
That's a great
me and my
movie.
sister would watch that movie all the time on the Illegal Rogers pay-per-view box.
My kids love that movie.
Like
it's great. One of their go-tos.
It's great. It is so good.
Hi. You're Percocizing.
Mine and Dugalis is always the favorite. Come on. Oh, the other ones. My favorite one was always luckily canceled today due to lack of hustle.
Do you know what I love?
Deal with it.
The one fan theory is that Perkis grew up to be White Goldman.
Yeah, that does not surprise me, actually.
White Goldman from Dodgeball, by the way.
Dodgeball. I honestly would... It's the same... I honestly feel like Ben Stiller took that persona and used it as White Goldman for sure. 100%.
Like, what's funny is...
Because he was fat. He said he was a fat kid, and Tony Perkins was fat as well. Yeah. So he probably got upset that he lost the camp. Sorry, guys.
Sorry.
So
puppy's yelling at another puppy. Come here.
So yeah, he probably was fat, lost the weight, and then that's why he had the camp. And then he lost the camp, got fat again, and then that's where so he got fat during that time.
And then his daddy lent him $4 million for the gym.
For the gym, so then he made Globo Gym and then got skinny again, and at the end of that he lost in dodgeball and he got fat again.
My favorite line.
That actually does make perfect sense.
My favorite line. Hey, White, you look awful fat in those pants.
Yeah,
like
no, that's a great.
That's
movie.
another episode.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Really.
So I guess until Game Changers comes out, that is the end of our Mighty Ducks discussion at the moment.
Unless you have any final thoughts that you didn't put in any other episodes.
Just Aaron lore, yummy. Though in this one, when we were like watching like a quick cap of it or whatever, I wanted to touch on like the inappropriateness of certain things. Like, not that one yet.
Okay.
But the first one, Goldberg gets mad at Julie for making first string, so he pretends to help her with carb loading and shit because she's gonna need energy to be the goalie. So he loads her with fucking junk food and makes her sick so he can be the goalie. Bad Goldberg. That is not being a good friend and not a good team player. Then, what's his nuts? The one that can't stop.
Mendoza.
What a fucking horn dog.
So he keeps trying to
get with the cheerleaders.
The blonde cheerleader specifically.
Yeah, blonde cheerleader specifically.
But she's dating the head guy of varsity.
Yeah.
So of course she's like, I'm too good for you.
Yeah.
So he hits on her once in the lunchroom. I think this is the same scene.
This is the same scene when the horse shit thing happens.
The Brownie scene. So he basically, since she turns him down.
He slips.
No. What happens actually, she's just like, oh, no. So she looks away, and then as soon as she looks back, the seat is empty.
He's gone.
And then you find that he's actually under the table.
He slipped under the table. Is crawling under the table. Freaking on all fours, looking up all the girls' skirts.
I don't know if he's really necessarily per se.
So is.
Hold on. I don't think that was what it was, but basically all the girls are sitting with their legs and their ankles.
Like together.
So basically he's like going past all of them underneath.
And then there's one that has her knees together but her ankles apart.
Her ankles are apart, and he looks at her, looks at the camera, and then kind of gives like eyebrows up, like, oh.
I'm just like,
we're just like, wow, Disney.
If that were in a movie these days, oh my god.
Oh my god.
Like, I'm starting to think that I'm becoming a little bit of a snowflake when it comes to shit like this. Because, like...
No, it's not that you're becoming a snowflake. It's just the fact that...
Society, I guess, is no longer allowing it.
Highlighting these things and not allowing it, so you're just not conforming, but you're conforming to what society is asking, and that's not a bad thing.
My perception or my...
Yes.
Not my idea. My...
Yeah, your ideas of life and your perception of life, and you're just, so that you're kind of conforming, but you're not conforming. You're just... Yeah,
because not that it was acceptable back then, like it's not acceptable now, it's just back then. It wasn't necessarily know any better.
Well, we kind of knew. But
it was the whole boys.
We were more run around the patriarchy where boys will be boys, and it's locker room talk, and it's...
Yeah, it was excusable.
Stuff. Which came up on my memories because there was a funny thing about Ryan Lochte versus the current athletes and stuff about the whole boys will be boys thing or whatever. But we'll remember this.
Boys will be boys is a toxic masculinity crap. And when we talk about boys will be boys, like I saw this thing on a meme the other day where I thought it was really funny. And they're like, when you say boys will be boys, say that phrase when a 10-year-old and a bunch of his friends use mayonnaise on the slip inside instead of water. Not when they are fucking sexually assaulting their classmates.
Yeah.
Same with like if.
But why is it? Yeah, like why is that a boys will be
if
boys?
If a bra strap.
Why you saying because all boys are fucking dumbass idiots? Well, then again, why are you still perpetuating? There should be no more because we don't have girls will be girls. There's no girls will be girls saying there never was.
If a bra strap is seeing your shoulders is going to excite a boy and distract him, then when a boy snaps your bra strap. That should be sexual harassment considered under the school board and they should be charged.
That's a whole other topic.
Sorry.
So I think
I think that sums it up.
Anything else that really, really like of the whole Duck series, anything else you need to talk about from number 1 to number 2 to number 3 that you might have forgotten about? Last words.
I don't think so.
I love Charlie Conway.
I love Aaron Lore. Dean Portman.
You Second one was for
sure
my
me
favorite.
Anytime.
I'm excited for Game Changers, but because again, Stephen Brill, the executive producer and like the writers of the first movie and everything, is part of this one. So he's trying to keep it as close to form as it should be and not as far off.
I'm somewhat excited to see it, like, because I love Lauren Graham. And of course, it's Mighty Ducks, like super nostalgic. So like, I am really excited. It's just I'm always hesitant about reboots and relaunches and things like that.
I agree. Reboots, it's hard to hard to swallow them sometimes because it's when it's something that's so dear to you. Like you don't want them to ruin it. Yeah, because what was the one?
Kind of like how so many people got so fucking mad about The Cursed Child.
I didn't read it. So
you didn't? I read it. And I thought, like, if you can separate it from the original story, it's a great story. It's a good read. But I understand why people hated it.
There was one that relaunched recently, and I was just like, I couldn't have any of it. I couldn't. That's how much I don't even remember what it is because I'm like I've deleted what the remake was from my memory.
You noped right out of that one.
I just noped right out of it. I can't remember because I watched it. And I was like, I just can't. This can't exist. It's been completely deleted.
It's gone.
It's gone. It's 100% deleted.
You just had to get it out of your brain.
Yeah,
cause trauma.
So right. That is...
Okay, well, Duck fans, that I guess wraps it up for our Ducks discussion.
And join us next week for whatever we have
whatever we decide to talk about. It'll be something nostalgic.
Possibly.
We can guarantee that.
Yeah, maybe food, maybe fashion. We've done a lot of movies, so we're going to delve into maybe something else of our 90s.
We'll get away from movies for like a couple episodes and
go into some fashions or some
I sounded so Canadian there, episodes.
Yeah. Episodes?
Or Minnesotan.
You are it's more Saskatchewan and Manitoban. That's who has that like because they're right if you think about it, those are right above Minnesota.
Yeah, it's
true.
So
it's the Manitobans and Saskatchewan that have a little bit more of that.
Or like how they say they're ants.
Hey Canada, you go. Hey friend, hey guy.
Go and get in the van, eh?
Right?
Yeah.
Out for a rent butt or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know.
Anyway. All right, well, later podcast world. It's been rad.
We're signing off. See you next week or
maybe next week. Yeah.
Bye.
See ya.